everyone. Welcome to our monthly meeting at the Scandinavian Heritage Society here in Rochester, New York. We are a lodge in the Sons of Norway organization. We welcome friends who have not only Norwegian ancestry, but all friends who are of other Nordic ancestry or culture, or even those who are just curious about the Nordic culture. Today, we welcome a special guest who will share with us her personal story and her upbringing in the Finnish culture. Please welcome Ilona. Ilona, could you say your full name for everyone? I'm pretty bad at pronunciations.
Okay, we'll do the whole thing. It's Ilona Miettinen-McCullough.
I'm glad because I'm probably going to butcher that if I try. Can you say it one more time for our audience?
Yes. Ilona is my first name, Katarina is my middle name, and Miettinen-McCullough is my last name. So very typical in Finland, and I think probably in Sweden and Norway too, that I kept my maiden name and added my husband's name in the end. So I have a hyphenated last name.
Okay, great. And I hope everyone watching this will enjoy your time with Ilona today. So we're just going to go right into some questions, and we'll let Ilona elaborate a little bit. So, Ilona, we understand that you are from Finland. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And were you born there?
Yes.
And what town and what sort of circumstances did all that happen?
So I was born in a town called Espoo, and it's right next to Helsinki. Helsinki is the biggest city in Finland and the capital as well. And so it's more kind of like a suburb, kind of a town. And we lived there until I was 6 years old. And then we moved to Helsinki. And that's where my dad grew up and my mom, both of them grew up in Helsinki.
They both worked in Helsinki then?
Yes, they both worked in Helsinki. We just lived in Espoo, so they commuted there. And that's why they were looking to find a place to live in Helsinki. So ended up back in there when I was 6 years old.
I see. Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have a younger sister. She's almost 4 years younger than me. And we lived together, my mom and dad, and me, my sister Annukka, and our dog.
So when you were growing up, obviously city life. What aspects of city life did you like, and did you like maybe visiting the country if you had extra time?
Well, most Finns still had very close roots to the countryside, because a lot of, for example, most of my friends, their grandparents lived in a countryside. So people really started moving into the cities after the wars. So we lived in a city, but most everybody has a summer place, either grandparents or the family itself, or somebody has. So everybody spends a lot of time in the summertime in their summer place. Nothing fancy. It's usually maybe the parents' old house where they grew up, or maybe something that was been in a family. And so I kind of grew up both liking and enjoying the city life, and also liking and enjoying the country life, and very common thing for most people. And city, we really lived in downtown. It was all apartments, and a little different. It's very normal and very common to live in apartments in Finland. When you're in the city area, there's no houses. You have to go kind of like outside the city to find the suburbs, so we had a nice little apartment. I mean, 3 bedrooms, and it was very small comparing to the American standards, I guess. But for an apartment, it was a pretty good size for that. For the area, there was a lot of older buildings, and they tend to be small. So we were comfortable. we had a big park right across the street, big playground, soccer field. In the wintertime, it was ice hockey rink, and my school was right there. My elementary, middle school was right across the street as well. So for growing up in the city, it was very, everything was right around. And Helsinki is a very green city, so there's a lot of parks, and that's what we enjoyed as a kid a lot, freely roaming around and enjoying the parks in the city and exploring. And parents had no clue where we were at, and we just had fun.
Yeah. I think that's true even in at least when I was growing up.
Hmm.
Yeah, our parents didn't worry about us as much as maybe parents do today, at least in America. I don't know how it is in Finland. But are there any favorite memories that you have growing up, either there in the city or summer vacations or anything like that that you remember that you cherish?
Well, I have good memories just growing up in Helsinki. I have good memories in our summer place, um, where my grandparents' summer place that was on a lake, not too far outside from Helsinki. We spent summers with them over there as a kid, while my parents were working. And then I also have a really great memories sailing with my parents in the summertime. So I would say that in Helsinki in the summertime, there are a lot of places where you can go swim outdoors. So it was a treat for us because it's the cold winters, and we have the swimming halls that are indoors. So in the summertime, we love going to um, like an outdoor pool area, and it was part of the 1952 Olympics. They built the stadium, and it's the old Olympic swim stadium that we used to love to go swim. And I can still very vividly remember being in there and enjoying the ice creams for treats, and laying on the grass on the top of a towel and just with the friends. And
Yeah.
sailing was great. We sailed a lot. My dad had a boat since he was 16, sailing boat, and he just recently
Mm.
gave it away because he's getting older. But so
Uh,
every summer, that was our, people go camping. We go camping with the boat. So nothing super fancy, but enough to sleep us and take us to island and island. There are thousands of islands on
mm,
the
mm.
coastal Finland, and kind of between Finland and Sweden, uh, there's tens of thousands of islands. Some of them are very small, and some of them are bigger, but there's a lot. It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful, and that's what I always say, that my heart rests is in the archipelago in Finland. And
Ah,
but then again, we have thousands and thousands of lakes in Finland too. And so having a
mm.
summer cottage on the lake is not a um, luxury item either. So we just there was uh, no running water, and there is no,
Oh,
it's just the outhouse and a sauna. And that's most people, we had
oh,
electricity there. But it was just, my second cousins were living next door. We had a bunch of kids, and we were just swimming all day long. And my grandma would heat up the sauna for us because it got a little cold. We would go in there and warm up a bit, and then we would head out, take our air mattresses, and go from our little beach to our neighbor's beach, and then to the another beach, and just
ah,
and again, we were just roaming around, and very freely. And then when my grandma said time for lunch, she would have this big cowbell that she would just use, and we would hear it from really far away. And it was like, okay, time to go eat. So yeah, it was
Wow.
a great childhood.
Sounds like fun. Mhm.
Yep.
Good. Now, when you were younger, well, even as maybe an adult, did you have like very like cultural events that you would attend or dress up for or that type of thing when you
Well,
were young?
well, we maybe not really. We did. We kind of went from holiday to holiday sort of things. They were celebrated, but not, well, maybe not necessarily always celebrated as much, but they were kind of there was always a little event for it. It might be very small, but Christmas in our family was a big thing, and Easter as well, but more not necessarily from the religious standpoint, more like for the kids
Hmm.
standpoint. So in
Sure.
Finland, in our Easter time, little girls and little boys as well, they will dress up as little witches, and they're called the Pääsiäisnoita, which is the Easter witch. And
Oh,
they go from door to door, and they make from the willow branches when they still have the little white bumbles on them, and they decorate those with feathers and ribbons and things, and they carry those and they will go door to door and say, uh, kind of translating it that, if you give me a treat, I'll give you this pretty little branch to
oh,
kind of wish you good luck, and if you don't, you're gonna have a bad luck for the rest of the year. So a lot of these, like Christmas time,
oh,
Easter, all those, they're kind of mixed with, just like in a lot of other countries. It's a Christian holiday, but there's also older, more uh, uh, celebration going parallel with it. Like these
hmm,
Easter, they do Easter fires and to keep the bad spirits away, and just there's different traditions like that. Depends on different parts of Finland where you're from. So
hmm.
we just went door to door and got little Easter eggs or money or candy, whatever the people were giving. Um, so we did that, and Christmas time, it's a big one. We celebrate on a Christmas Eve on the 24th, and we believe that Santa lives in Finland and not in the North Pole. And so he lives in Korvatunturi, which is a mountain in Rovaniemi, which is right on the Arctic Circle up in northern
Mm.
Finland. And so Santa would always come visit on Christmas Eve and bring the presents. So I love looking at some old pictures, and I remember sitting on Santa's lap and being terrified. And now I look at it, I'm like, that's my grandfather's hands there. So it was usually a
Ah,
relative or someone who would dress up as a
sure.
Santa and bring the gifts. And
Mhm.
and then Christmas Day, we would just kind of chill and relax and eat the leftovers, and and the also what's different to here is like the Christmas tree. We usually got it like a day or two, or right. Some people get it right on Christmas Eve, but it stays
Mhm.
up till the I think it's around 10 of January. So it's, what is it called? Epiphany or something. It's like it has like the end of the Christmas, like really the all the Christmas is over on the around that time. So
Okay.
yeah, and yeah, so a little different, but still very similar. And
Mhm.
yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, in between there's a bunch of different. There's the Finnish Independence Days and December 6th, and we got our independence from Russia in 1917. And so not that long time ago, we just celebrated 100 years. So now it's been 107 years, 107 years this December coming up. So we're fairly
Right.
young nation that way, but we've been there for a really long time.
My wife and I have started collecting international dolls that come with, they usually have their national costume and whatever. And of course, we have a number of Finnish dolls, some of them being Sami dolls. But
Yes.
I'm always intrigued by, especially the girls' dresses, but also the young men's attire. So, so on these national holidays, do people dress up in the old-fashioned national costumes and that kind of thing?
So we have Sami people up north are a little they have a different cultural customs
Mhm.
than the people in the south, and
Right,
their clothing, everything's different. So down south we have uh depends on every depends on which part of Finland you're from. They have different kind of particular dress that uh, looks a lot similar to the ones in like Sweden and Norway.
right.
And so I never had one. We don't. I think more outside of Helsinki, they are more. They had the dances and there were some traditional dances that some of my friends were doing, but we never really did that. So and
I
it's
see.
Helsinki is kind of a place that a lot of the people ended up there. Like my parents grew up there, but their parents were not from Helsinki. So my grandparents, none of them. Well, my grandfather was born in Helsinki, but everybody else was somewhere else. So
I
it's
see.
so yeah. So those traditions are maybe not there as strong like I see like in Norway, in Sweden. People dress up in those national dresses a lot more than in Finland. Some people
I
do, and some occasions like Independence Day, sometimes people do dress up on those. But in my family, we never did.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now, as far as when you were younger and you went to school there, um,
Mhm.
I understand that you speak Swedish, right? And I've understood that maybe influence from Sweden is heavy or was heavy, and that's why you speak Swedish. Or did you do this voluntarily, or is it just part of the school curriculum?
So that is there is this forever discussion of, because the Swedish has an official status as a native language in Finland. So let's say that we have maybe 95% of the Finnish people speak Finnish as their first language,
Sure.
and then we have about maybe 4% Swedish speaking Finns, and then we have the Sami people and some Roma people, so they have their own language too, and they all four have like official status. But so there's been we share history with Sweden. Finland was part of Sweden for about 700 years,
Right.
and they were kind of the ruling people, and all the government people came from Sweden. So there's this little uh, thing that things are like, wow, why do we have to learn Swedish? I
Sure.
personally think that learning any language is always good, and I think it's just a good thing to learn another language. And so we have to study Swedish at school still today. Like, yeah, you have to usually start Swedish either your first language or a second. So you have your first a foreign language, and you have your second domestic, depending on what is your native. If you're Swedish speaking, then you have to take Finnish. So So everybody learns both. And if you hold a government position like a job, then you have to be fluent in both. So everybody
Mm.
has the right to be served on their native language. But so I spoke in Swedish very well after high school. I could hold a conversation in Swedish, but I have forgotten really most of it because I've been speaking English for the
Sure.
past 25 years.
Yeah.
But I've been kind of trying to refresh it. I had a gentleman that was wanting to refresh his Finnish. So we were kind of trading, and he was fluent in Swedish. So
Uh,
I was teaching him Finnish, and he was teaching me Swedish.
Now, did you also learn English in school?
Yes, I total. I know that things has changed a little bit, but the standard probably is that. So in my time, I had to pick a first language on a third grade. Now I think it's the first grade that they pick a first language. And then on the sixth grade, I had to take either, well, I chose English on the third grade, so I had to take Swedish on the seventh grade. And then on the
Mm.
eighth grade, I took French. And so you have to study at least three languages throughout the school years. Most people do four.
Wow. Also, so you did study French. So how many languages do you speak then, total?
I really honestly I speak Finnish and English. I could I could probably refresh my Swedish if I would go over and just get into it. They would come back to me pretty quick because Swedish is very close to English, and there's a lot of words that are similar. So it would be probably pretty easy, but I would say I am bilingual at this point.
Mhm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, that's great. And so when you were going to school, also not knowing exactly how the schools work in Finland, did you have to prepare for a career at your upper levels, or would you take sort of what we would call college prep courses, or what? May I ask what you did on your higher grades for
So,
education?
so you had kind of like after 9 years of school. So after middle school, you have to continue school, but that's where it kind of splits. So if you wanna uh, go for the higher level education, you have to do the high school. But you can also choose not to do high school and do trade school. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went high school, and then I did 4 year of college, and graduated from with a nursing degree.
And that degree came from a university in Finland then?
Yes, yes, or college, I would say. Yeah.
Hmm. So now, with that, uh, with with that knowledge, now I've got to figure out, well, what are you doing in Concord, New Hampshire? How did you get there?
Well, the story of love. So,
Yeah.
uh, my husband is a retired Marine, and at the time he was stationed at working at the American Embassy. American embassies, they use Marines as a security guard. So he
Ah.
was doing that duty in Helsinki, and we met one night in August, and then we started dating, and then we
Hmm.
kept a meeting and keeping in touch, and decided to get engaged, and got married, and I moved to States, and I traveled with him for 15 years around the US and overseas. And then we settled, we're living in California. His last duty station was there, and we were kind of thinking, where are we going to go? And we had a lot of options. And so he decided to get a job up here. He had a friend, and who was here, and we did recruiting duty a long time ago in Massachusetts, and I really like New England because it reminds me of home
Yeah.
and being the granite state and the climate and birch trees and pines and all that. So in the winters, of course. So we decided to settle in New Hampshire. And but before we got here, my husband came here to go to school first. And I took the
Mm,
kids and we moved to Finland for a year. And because it was just the opportunity was there. And because we
mm.
sold the house in California and, we didn't have any financial obligations at that point. So I just took the kids and we went there and lived next door to my mom and dad. And I put the kids to the Finnish school. And after that year, we bought a house here, and then we brought the kids with us and settled in Concord.
Yeah. So when you came back to America the second time, I guess,
Mhm.
was it hard? Well, probably the first time would have been even harder. Was it harder to leave your family? And did your family, was your family, your parents okay with the fact that you're now living in the United States?
Well, when I went to spend the year with the kids in Finland, we knew that's going to be just for that 1 year,
Hmm.
and so that was more like a treat. Um, for my parents that we were there, and it was a treat for me, and I was really happy to be able to connect the kids with Finland in a different level. And but yeah, when I left, my especially my mom was very sad. But you just I always had this traveling itch that I wanted to go and see different places, and so it was kind of easier for me to leave, and I knew I was going to go somewhere. I actually had planned to go to work as a nurse in Norway, but I ended up in here. So
Uh-huh. Now you mentioned children, so I knew that you had a son, but that's all that we had talked about
hmm
there in Concord. So how many children do you have, and their names and ages and all that?
I have 3 kids, or we have 3 kids. Oliver's 18, and then we have Sophia. She is just turned 15. And then our youngest one, Samuel, is 14.
Huh? So all teenagers.
Yep.
And how is that going, may I ask? I'm saying it funny. I have, my
uh,
kids are grown up now, but they were
yep.
teenagers at one time.
Yes. So it's a very different when kids are little. It's very hands-on, busy, and exhausting that way. At this
Right.
point, it's like it's mentally exhausting and trying to. Yeah, it's a big kids, big problem. So yeah, it's different, but it's fun too. My kids are great. Very proud of them, and we have mostly fun. But yeah, it's different, and there's a
Mhm.
different scares. They start driving, and that's scary,
Right.
and you have to let them go, and yeah, it is. It's different, but it's good.
So you've been here a while now. When you first came to America, what was different, or what, seemed strange to you compared to your upbringing in Finland? Did you notice anything that sort of scared you or
Uh,
was different than you expected?
I always say that I have a kind of like a two home identity. So I feel very much home here and I feel very much home in Finland. So traveling between those two, and when I first got here, my first things that I was kind of struggling with a lot was that there's no public transportation.
Ah,
So I never had a car. I had a driving license, so if I needed a car, I borrowed my parents' car, but I, used the public transportation for everything. And I also used my bicycle a lot. And
Mhm.
there's no bike lanes, and there's no sidewalks most places. Of course, I grew up in a city, but even in a countryside in Finland, they have roads for bicycles and
Hmm.
pedestrians. So that was very different. And then the other thing that was, we never had issue with it being within the military, but the public health care. I was
Um,
shocked, and I was like, "What do you mean that you have to pay for it?" So that's just something when you grow up with it, it's you realize that that is a privilege that is not everywhere for everybody. And
right.
but then funny things where I found, like, we were buying furniture, and I found that the beds are all so high that that I had to climb on them, because the
Oh,
Scandinavian beds typically are very low, and same thing with the couches. So I felt
huh.
that the furniture was big, and that was kind of a funny thing. And uh, yeah, and I love the ice cream here. Not the chocolate so much, but I love the ice cream. I found that was really good. So just, you know, there were a couple big changes, and people being very. We lived down south at first, and I found interesting how people, like, we would go in a restaurant, and I would call the baby doll, and the people were very, very friendly, that I was not used to being so openly friendly,
Let's see.
and people were very polite. And I remember being in a grocery store, and someone passing me and saying excuse me, like we do. And I was like, well, you have plenty of room, like why are you saying excuse me, you're not bothering me. so so little
Uh,
things like that was the first. And but now I absolutely love it, and I think it's great to acknowledge the other people, and holding the doors, and making sure that sometimes I think in Finland we're just a little introverted and don't pay as much attention to our
right.
peers and people around us.
Hmm. We've
So
heard that from a number of people. Corey had interviewed a lady from Denmark, and she
hmm
said the same thing. She had made an extended tour of the United States, like something like 6 weeks for vacation one time, and
hmm
she just couldn't believe that people in the Midwest, especially
hmm
in America, were, just talking to them all the time, and she wasn't used to that. So yeah, she said the same thing. Right.
hmm
Yeah.
So now when I
Now,
go to Finland, I'm very smiley, and I'm very uh, talkative, and
they probably
so
look at you strange, do they?
yeah, sometimes it's like, okay. And I, if I try really hard, I crack some smiles there. So that's makes me happy.
For a while, I was looking at my phone, and I don't know what, but I was getting a lot of these reels, these short videos of comedians from Scandinavia, mainly from Norway. But all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I would get some from Iceland and Finland. And
Mhm.
it was always the Finnish people were making fun of that fact of not talking to anybody, but also the weather. It was,
Mhm.
they were speaking in English, but it was broken English, but it was like they were self-deprecating. Is that the right word? Where they're making fun of themselves, sort of thing. And I just thought
Yeah.
that was sort of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Finns are very good at kind of being sarcastic, and kind of making fun of things. Or life is sometimes hard. It's very dark, and
Yeah,
it's cold for a long time. So you're just gonna have to make some fun out of it, and just laugh
sure.
about it. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we met at the Viking House, which is a
Mhm.
retail store in Concord, New Hampshire. So, how did you go from nursing to that? Maybe there was other steps for you, but how did you get to be working there at the Viking House? And what is your position there, by the way,
Oh,
for our audience?
so I am just a worker bee. And so we have our manager and buyer Emily there, and then we're all the rest of us are just worker bees. And but we all have a little different roles of doing. We're always there for our customers first, but I'm nowadays a lot working with the receiving and processing the product. Um, and we are truly, we have a great group of people, and we have a lot of fun, and I think we all kind of share the interest on either travel or just being curious about new things. And it just it's a fun place to work. And how I
Hmm.
ended up there was when we were moving here. My husband, who got here in Congress first, just happened to run into it and walked in and calls me and says, like, "Hey, I found you a source of chocolate for you. They have finished chocolate and candy in there." So that was great. And of course, I had to go and visit when we moved here with the kids. And that was it. Emily, we were talking, and she right away said that, when you're ready, come talk to us, and I'll have a job for you here. And
Wow,
so,
nice.
and then it took about a little over a year, and she kind of was like, kept on saying, like, "Hey, let me know when." And then I finally said, "Okay, we're settled enough. Our kids are at school, house is in a decent shape." So I started working there part time, and it's it's working
Uh,
out pretty good.
yeah. How long ago was it when you started working
I
there?
think this fall will be already 5 years.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
times go by quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know whenever we come into town, my daughter lives there, and
Yeah.
whenever we come in town, which is probably 3 or 4 times a year, maybe
Mhm.
once a season, we always want to go into the Viking store. It is a very friendly place, and I think I think the last time I might have talked to you in the store. I always look for the napkins and stuff like that with
Mhm.
the Scandinavian or Nordic countries there.
Yeah.
But I think you pointed me to I was looking for some particular chocolate. Was that you that helped me with the chocolate, or maybe it was one of your coworkers?
Could have
But
been me, or could have been maybe Terry. Not sure, but
it's
yeah,
funny
we
you said
carry.
chocolate brought you
Yes,
in there, and
yes, I
that's
know
what
my
brought me.
chocolate. That's for sure. I take great
Yeah,
pride of tasting every single one. So,
yeah.
but
And again, trying to remember the brand name. It was Denmark. Dansky. I'm trying to remember the name. You would remember. You would know Denmark chocolate, but it's like a little piece of chocolate with a whole bunch in a bag. But I'm trying to remember. It started with. It sounded like something Denmark. Dansky. I don't remember, but um, that's the last thing I think we we bought there.
oh, maybe it was Dime. Was
Dime.
it red?
That's what it was. Sorry.
So that's
Yes, that's what
Swedish.
it was.
Yeah, that's Swedish
Oh,
chocolate. Yep.
oh, I thought it was Danish. Oh,
Nope,
okay.
that's Swedish. Yeah, it's
Ah,
really good.
yeah.
Yes. Very
I
dangerous
one of
bag of chocolate.
yeah. Probably one of the people going to be listening to this uh, was turned me on to that chocolate. He had given me like two tiny pieces at some event, and
Mm-hmm.
I loved it so much. I wanted to find out how to get it. So I figured if I went to your store, I could find out. And that's exactly what happened. So
Yeah,
I'm
we usually carry, and summertime it's a little hard that we usually have because the chocolate melts, so it's a little risky to order a bunch of chocolate. So we usually start getting more in the fall, and then in the springtime, then we just whatever is left for the summer. But now we been ordering a lot. With is just different kind of gummy. gummy candies.
Oh,
So
okay, right.
licorice, black licorice, but also a bunch of fruity flavors, and so kind of like substitute the chocolate in the summertime.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll have a whole bunch, and we have Norwegian, the Freya chocolates, and a bunch of other Norwegian chocolates. We have the Swedish ones, Finnish ones, Icelandic chocolate, and
Hmm.
so there's plenty for any Scandinavian to find their own favorite.
The other thing I like is the jams and jellies. I've learned more about lingonberries since I've joined this group because that's a
Hmm.
big thing in Norway, and I'm sure all the countries. And
Yep.
cloudberry, I think, that's a
Yep.
nice taste to it. Uh, but the other thing we like looking at the clothes, but some of it is a little bit more expensive than we we can afford. But
Yep.
and the other big thing at your store that we like are the Dahlia horses. You know,
Yes.
and
The
those are
dollar horses. Yeah.
so. But yeah, so now I guess maybe I misunderstood a little bit. Do you go on buying trips for the store, or is
I
that
did.
somebody else?
Well, Emily does the buying trips in general, but I did go with her um, just about a year and a half ago. Well, it was in May a year ago.
Hmm.
I was going to visit my family, and Emily was going around that time to Denmark. So we kind of decided that, well, why don't we do this combined? So I went for a shopping trip with her. We were in Denmark, we were in Sweden, and I also took Emily to Finland, and I showed her around for about a week. So I got to show her my family, and kind of a lot of finished product and things. So we had a really great trip for checking out different items and trying to find things like what people might be interested. Just
Hmm.
some things like we just know that that's like two different. It's very specific group of people might be interested in it, but it might not be enough to bring it to the store. So it's
Sure.
always kind of like, ah,
Yeah. What is going to sell, right? What?
yes, exactly, yeah. And Emily's really good at that. That she finds uh, the balance between finding some special items and then more that pleases the mainstream, and also trying to find different price points so we have
Sure.
something for everybody.
Yeah. Sure.
Because yes, those Dale of Norway sweaters are expensive. They're gorgeous and they will last for 30 years. We have customers who come in and they said, like, I still have my sweater.
Yeah. We really enjoy your store, and
Thank you.
it's really we do
Yeah,
enjoy that.
that's we
Um,
really tried to make it like it's a fun experience, and kind of you leave the store with a smile on your face, and maybe something in a pocket too, or maybe not. But either way,
yeah.
we hope that anybody who comes and finds something that makes them happy.
Some way we got into talking about your son, who
Hmm.
is he going to Finland or has he already gone?
He's leaving in October, so
Ah,
so he graduated from high school and has no clue what he wants to do, and I think it would be a waste of time and money for him to just go to school for the sake of just going to school. So I said, why don't you take a year off and just go to work and do something that you like, and try to figure out what would be something that you'd like to be doing in a future. So so we started thinking of this about a year ago, and
mm-hmm.
so last winter we took a vacation, went to visit up north in Finnish Lapland, and in a ski resort. We have a friend who lives there in the wintertime, and stayed with them and checked out the place. Great skiing, had a lot of fun. So that was it, and so Finland being a small place, you always know someone. So we were able to connect with someone who recruits for this resort. It's called the Northern Lights Resort. And so
Oh,
he's going to be working there as a tour guide. So they'll do
oh,
trips with the snowmobiles and snowshoeing and all kind of outdoorsy stuff. And so he'll be there doing that. So I think it's a great thing for him to meet up people from other countries. There's a bunch of people working. It's a seasonal job, so they get people from all over the
mm-hmm,
world to go work there for that period of a time. And also, he will
mm-hmm,
speak Finnish there and freshen up his Finnish. And
sure.
yeah, he did well. Previously, it just gotten a little rusty, so he just need to freshen up his Finnish in case he
Mhm.
wants to stay and
Now,
go to school in Finland.
will he see his grandparents on occasion during the year
Yes.
he's there?
Yeah,
No?
it is. They're down south, and my all my family's in Helsinki, so
Hmm.
that's like 600 miles, maybe. I'm trying to
Oh,
think.
wow.
Maybe not. Maybe 500 miles from
Well,
Helsinki up
still,
north. So
wow.
it's
That's a
way
long
above
way.
the Arctic Circle. It's up there, very north.
Wow. Wow.
But so he'll be really truly on his own. So it's a little terrifying because
Mhm.
kids here in the US, I think they grow up a little more sheltered, and then they just kind of get dropped out. Like, okay, you're 18, be a grown up now.
Yeah.
And so in Finland, generally, kids are more independent since they are little.
Hmm. I
They
see.
go places on their own, and because of the
Yeah.
public transportation, so they can,
Yeah.
uh, go everywhere on their own. So in Finland, when you are, and in anywhere in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, um, if you're sitting in a bus or tram or metro, you see little kids without their parents there, like
Ah, huh.
school age, like 7, 8 year olds, just
Wow.
going around on their own.
Wow. Well, yeah. So do you have any long range plans, or are you just comfortable with what you're doing now, or do you have any plans to go back to Finland for long stretches of time or anything like that?
Well, it's so we'll kind of see what the kids are doing, but I think at this point, my parents are getting old, and I
Hmm.
really want to spend more time with them. But we want to stay here up until the younger ones just started high school, so they have 4 more years of school, and so we will probably, after they graduate, we will sell the house. It's too big for just two of us.
Hmm.
So sell the house, buy maybe a condo somewhere in New Hampshire and like around the Concord area, not necessarily right here, but somewhere
Hmm.
between Concord and Boston, kind of
Hmm.
the idea. And then we will rent something in Finland. So we'll kind of be
Uh,
half and half. And I can stay in Finland as long as I want to. I have a dual citizenship, and so does all the kids, but my husband doesn't. So he can only stay there 3 months, and then he has to leave
ah,
the country or the Schengen. But I
uh,
think that will be just manageable. We want to keep something here. This is where the kids grew up. This is their home in that sense, and
sure.
so we'll have a place even if we are not here. There's a home with the car that they can go anytime. And I really don't know. Told the kids they can do whatever makes them happy. The schools are free for them in Finland.
Hmm.
Um, it might be a little hard sometimes to get in because you have to apply, and it goes by your grades and all. But or the entrance exam, but there's a lot of programs in English that they can apply to. So if they go to school in Finland or they're going to go to school in here, I think we're all going to kind of spread out anyway. They're all going to do different things, and so. But I really, we have a summer cottage too not the one that I grew up with, but my parents have another one now that me and my sister are gonna start wanna take over and keep it within the family for our children and stuff to enjoy. So we're probably gonna be spending summers in Finland, and then uh, maybe come back here for the fall, and
Hmm.
we'll see. Kind of, it's gonna be a bit of half and half, but gonna try to enjoy the both.
Yeah.
We were just talking about with this group of Finnish ladies that somebody was asking about how do they feel every time they go visit Finland and come back, like, feeling sad or. And I said that I'm happy either way. I've truly accomplished this to home identity that
Yeah.
I go home and I come home, and
Hmm.
I'm happy to go and I'm happy to come back. So
Yeah. I like
like
that.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
like what you said about I go home and I come home. That
Mm-hmm.
says it right there. You have two homes. So that it really says
Yes.
it. Yeah. And speaking of going home, do you cook Finnish food for your family, or do you do it on special occasions? And if so, what if I were to go to Finland, what would you suggest I eat? But first of all, do you cook your national foods?
I do. I have certain dishes. We have like um we eat a lot of different soups just because in Scandinavia typically there are not very many stay-at-home moms. So moms are usually at work. So during the week, my mom would not make a big dinner. It was usually soup and some bread. So,
Hmm.
grew up with a whole bunch of different soups, but my favorite absolutely is the fish soup, and I make that quite often. It's very simple, very easy. So I can either use some white fish or salmon, and milk or cream. It depends on do we want to go fancy or
Hmm.
just like every day. And
Yeah.
another like a very quick, easy is oven baked salmon. We eat that quite a bit, and when I go Finland, I like um, um, fried and breaded herring. They're really yummy.
Okay.
Mashed potatoes and little lingonberries, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. And so we do we do it, and I like any kind of smoked fish, that but cooked fish.
Hmm.
And then we have our everyday mac and cheese that I cook at home. So it's not mac and cheese, it's called uh, so macaroni and hamburger meat casserole. So that's kind of our
Oh, okay.
equivalent for a mac and cheese sort of thing. That's what a lot of kids eat, and so I've made that a million
Hmm.
times, and it's easy and filling. And we do eat in Finland quite a bit of casseroles too, different kind, but that's just something that kids tend to like. And then we
Hmm.
have our little specialties, depends on which part of Finland you're from. But one is Karelian pies. And so they're from the eastern parts of Finland, a traditional thing, but they're eaten everywhere. They're really yummy. So it's you use rye flour to make this kind of like really, really thin. Uh, um, it's a dough that you make really, really roll it really thin, and then you put rice pudding in the middle, and you kind of fold
Oh.
the dough around it and bake them, and then
Mm.
you just put this nice mixture of butter and hard boiled eggs. You mix it together and put it on the top, and it's really, really yummy.
Oh,
So that's
sounds good.
yeah. So Karelian pies, they are really, really good, and so there's a um and the rye bread is it's a big thing. So we have the bread that I cannot find anywhere else really, and
Oh.
it's just it's different. They don't even eat that in Sweden or Norway,
Hmm.
and you might be able to find it there, but it's a specialty for them. But in Finland, it is. It's kind of sourdough.
Mm.
It's it's pretty heavy and very strong flavor, but that's what I grew up with, and that's like
Mhm.
the cornerstone of every Finnish food pantry, that you have that there. And but yeah, I think that's kind of like the really Finnish things. But I would definitely, if I would go to Finland, I would go and find a restaurant that has like a buffet of like a Finnish traditional
Oh,
buffet.
okay. Sure.
Yeah. So then you can go and sample different flavors and things.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, as we're getting ready to close up here, I would ask for any of us who might consider going to travel to Finland, uh,
Hmm.
what kinds of things should we see or not see, or
Um,
what recommendations would you have for us if we
so
wanted to
Finland
make that
just
venture?
Yeah, Finland, just like New Hampshire, is known for its great outdoors, like any Scandinavian countries are. So what's special in Finland
Hmm.
is like the lakes. Like it has a nickname of the land of the thousands of lakes, because it
Mm.
truly, I think we have 188,000 lakes in the country. And if you look
Wow.
at the Finnish map, the whole southern parts of Finland, it's a lot of water. So that's when I said that to have a lake, the cottage on a lake, it's not a luxury item. It's pretty standard thing. And so renting a cabin on a lake would be a great way to explore something very Finnish. Um, uh, what Finns like to do. They like to go in their summer cottage and kind of
Hmm.
just relax and away from the city life and the stressors. They like to get back to the nature, and so that's something. And the other thing is all the archipelago between Finland and Sweden, and all the thousands and thousands of the islands. If you have a chance to go sailing, that would be wonderful. Or if you're visiting Helsinki, you can just take a boat, and it's like a little charter boat that you can go and explore like right outside Helsinki, but from the water. And that's a great idea. And well, Lapland in the wintertime, it truly is a winter wonderland, because it stays below freezing at all times. So snow is always white and fluffy
Uh,
and beautiful. And lots of national parks. Even in Helsinki, we have national parks that just like 45 minutes from the downtown Helsinki, and it's a beautiful place that you can go for a day hike. And and of course, there's places. We have a lot of not a lot, but a few nice medieval castles. We don't have any fancy castles like they have in the Central Europe, but
yeah.
there's history in there. And
Hmm.
so for towns, um, each one of them has their kind of the vibe, and depends on what you like. But yeah.
And as we get ready to conclude here, are there any things that you would like to talk about that I didn't bring up or you didn't bring up that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I'm thinking of the food wise and just traditions and stuff. I was wondering if we on a Christmas time. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure what other Scandinavians eat. Some of it I know and stuff, but for Finland, I mean, traditionally, there's this. Uh, it's called the. Hold on, let me see. It's called Rudabak. casserole and carrot casserole and ham, and those are like the really, and also like a sweetened mashed potato casserole. So those are like the traditional foods that we eat. And of course, there's smoked salmon and there's like peas and stuff like that. But those are something very specific
right.
for Finland for Christmas time, and they're only eaten in the Christmas time.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, there's a lot of
Right.
traditions, but families are a little different. Depends on which part of Finland you are from. And like I grew up in Helsinki, so it's a bit of a more of
Mhm.
a melting pot of different traditions.
Sure.
So when you live in outside, like in a countryside, you have more specifically from that region, um, the traditions and foods. But yeah, it's beautiful, calm, very safe country to travel, and low crime. Just and
Mhm.
traditionally, um, we are very similar to Sweden and Norway, like the government, how the governments run, and social programs and all that is very much the
Right.
same. They're different, but still a lot the same. And
Yeah.
we truly have a really great relationship with Sweden. The history was not always so great, but it was never like a really
Right.
bad either. So we were just
Mm.
they were the ruling country, and we were the ones that were kind of peasants and farmers, and just living off the wood. So that sometimes um, was not the greatest position to be, but overall, um, we were never really mistreated by Swedes more than you know at the time, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
some things happen, but nowadays, very good relationship, and they do a lot of similar partnerships with a lot of different levels of the government and
Ah,
national interests and so yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Good. Going just quickly back about food, our organization every year, usually in January, but now we're moving it to November before Christmas, is
Yeah.
we call it the lutefisk dinner,
Ooh.
which is a specialty of Norway and I think Sweden also, but mainly Norway. And um, there's a certain amount of fun making in eating lutefisk.
Mhm.
We may not necessarily like it, but it's like a tradition. So almost like America has Thanksgiving, you have turkey. Well,
Mhm.
you have lutefisk, and we have some of the things that go along with it. But we do this dinner, and it's one of our bigger events that we
Yeah.
do. So yeah. So anyway, but
Yeah,
again,
lutefisk is something that I've never tasted it, but it used to be on a Christmas table when my mom was growing up. But she did not pass it on to
but
us.
you were. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Well, Ilona, it's been a pleasure to have you to hear your story today. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot. We hope you learned a little bit about us also. We wish you good fortune in your future, and we hope to keep in touch, that you will keep in touch with us. Thank you very much for the time that you've given us.
Well, thank you for inviting me for this interview. It's been fun chatting with you and telling a little bit about the Finns and
Mhm.
how my life here in States been since moving in here. So yeah, it's been all good, and I think it's a great thing to that you do these things so people can see that we're more the same than we're different, and it's mostly just kind of fun stuff, figuring it out and finding
Right.
all those
Yeah.
things in common.
Yeah. Very, very good. Thank you very much.